Well, hello everybody, and welcome to In Depth, where we explore the stories behind the leaders, visionaries, and innovators affecting your world. Now, before we get to today's guest, which is an amazing guest, we're looking forward to this interview very much, we have just a few updates for you.
Because everything is new. Like, everything right now is new. So if you notice, this is a completely new set. This is, we just moved into our new offices, and we are really excited because we got to create some really cool sets for us to be filming from. So
we're actually going to be starting something called Calton Nutrition TV. So we're going to be spending a lot more time bringing you the educational programs that you've been asking us for. So we've got 3 new programs that we're going to be doing on a regular basis. We have, of course, In Depth, which is what you're watching right now. And we also have one called House Calls, which is going to be bringing your answers to you through the program.
And that's kind of like our Worried Solve that we used to do, so we'll still have the Q&A, and please keep sending in the really great questions. The next one is really cool because it's called Treadmill Talk, and we're going to be on our treadmill desks answering nutrient questions. So we're actually be walking you through the latest studies on micronutrients and any food science that comes out.
Yeah, this is a big one. This is one that we've wanted to do for a while now. You always see the headlines,
and
right?
They make us mad. They make us so angry.
There's headlines recently, oh, you know, vitamin E could be bad for you. So yeah, we're not going to tell you what they are, but we're going to go over those headlines each and every week and help you to kind of understand what the actual studies might be saying. Yeah. So next, we have our new website is up. You might be seeing that now. It's a completely new look and feel for us.
A few glitches, but just stick with it. It's only a couple days old, so it'll all get set.
Yep. Next, nutrients is back in stock. So a lot of you have been asking. We've been out of stock of nutrients since October. And that's due to so many of the great people out there who've been recommending nutrients, like John Gabriel, Dave Asprey, Jonathan Baylor, who are now recommending nutrients exclusively. So thank you very much to them. But for those of you who've been out, it is back in stock now. So
and the new flavors will be coming out: strawberry lime, chocolate vanilla. So we're really stoked about all that stuff too. The only other thing I really want to announce is that we are now going to be sponsoring a really cool event that we want you guys to check below. There's going to be a link, and it's the Super Size Me 10-year anniversary conference.
Yes.
It has so many cool people involved with it that, like, I'll just leave a couple, like Jeffrey Smith, J.J. Virgin, Tom O'Brien, Dave Asprey, Marion Nestle, Sean Cruxton, Chris Card, the Amons. I mean, it is chock full of amazing guests.
Yeah.
And we're actually sponsors for it. So we'll be definitely there, and we want you to make sure to sign up now to get involved also.
Yeah, and you'll see the link below. That's put on by our great friend Alex Jameson. She's a superwoman herself, and she's the woman behind that movie, Super Size Me. So you don't want to miss on that. So let's get to our guest today. So our guest today is a fellow of the American Heart Association, the College of Nutrition, and the American Association of Family Physicians. He also has worked as a healthcare researcher and author. He's also a trained chef, which we will talk a little bit about later. Right? Over the past 15 years, he's helped to reverse the symptoms probably thousands of different clients of type 2 diabetes, as well as cardiovascular disease. So he is currently the president of the Masley Optimal Health Center, as well as the medical director for the 10 Years Younger program. We'd like to welcome to our show Dr. Stephen Masley. Welcome.
Delighted to be here.
Oh, it's so great. We got to spend some time with you at this past convention that we went to and got to know you a little bit. And we were so excited that you wanted to come on and share the information about your fantastic new book. We got a copy.
Yep.
It's the 30-Day Heart Tune-Up. And there's your copy. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Delighted. Yeah, this is great.
Well, we're going to jump in because this show is really about giving the people watching it some tools that they can use and to get them excited to learn more about you later on. So let's just jump right in and ask, why did you write this book?
Well, we've been doing research in our clinic, and we're looking at what predicts do you have thickening of your arteries, what we call plaque growth. And we've looked at hundreds of markers, and lo and behold, some of the common things we'd think would have been in the past, like cholesterol, had no impact at all. And so we wanted to share, so if we can look at what predicts plaque growth, and we now have hundreds of patients who've shrunk their plaque on average 10 years.
Wow, that's so super cool.
What are those? That's what I want to share here today because I think that's such important information for people to hear.
Well, let's jump into that a little bit. I mean, you have a little bit different take on heart disease. Let's talk about that.
Well, a typical doctor treats it like a disease. They wait till you get in trouble, they put you on meds, you feel worse, and then you continue to get worse and decline, and then they do some procedure, which is, you know, serious, you know, big deal.
Yeah.
I'm just so fed up with that. You know, we can prevent heart disease, cardiovascular disease 90% of the time, but we spend 90% of our resources on invasive procedures and hospital care. It's just wrong.
So you're really all about the preventative, all the things you can do beforehand.
So now I want to focus on what, you know, there's these new things we can offer people that are much more powerful than those traditional ones. So I think it's a break to curing and reversing heart disease instead of treating it with drugs and procedures.
That's great, and that's what we're all about here at Calton Nutrition, and we want to make sure that people get your message because I think it's so important. So many people have heart disease. What are the statistics now out there?
Well, it's still the leading cause of death, and a lot of people think it's just men, but it's the leading cause of death in women as well. And as important as breast cancer is, for every one woman who dies of breast cancer, 6 are going to die from heart disease.
Wow.
And it's not just the death, it's if you don't have good circulation, you don't feel well. So if you tune up your heart, at the same time you're going to tune up your energy, your waistline, and your sex life too.
Well,
so the program has huge benefits.
Absolutely. Those are nice bonuses to look forward to. So if someone out there is watching right now and they're thinking, well, how do I know if this pertains to me? Like, what tests do I need to get done? Will my doctor give them to me? What tests do you recommend?
Well, that's something I have a little gift package we were talking about offering at the end. I'm going to go through in some detail. But here's what I've learned from my research. There are really some powerful predictors, and I think you're going to love them. Number one is actually fiber.
Okay.
If you don't get your fiber intake in, there's a big risk of growing plaque. So but as I mentioned that, I think that's such an important one. In our office, we measure the thickness of the artery. We use ultrasound. It's called carotid intimomedial thickness, or carotid IMT, and we can measure on the carotid artery how thick it is and what your age. So I could say whether a man or woman has the plaque of a 40-year-old, 50-year-old, or 60-year-old, and then we can track that over time. Is it growing, shrinking, or staying the same? So it's phenomenal technology that's now available to measure the most common cause of death and aging today. And then now we're realizing, like fiber, I just gave you one example, if you don't have access to this technology, we've got these tests we can do that help predict it.
Great.
Are you seeing it younger and younger, like all that calcification, and do you test it?
As I said, we have hundreds of patients who've shrunk their arterial plaque growth by more than 10%. That's about a 10-year reduction in plaque growth.
Wow. And when should people start to actually have these tests done? I mean, should they in their 40s or even before that?
Well, in our office, we typically start with men at 40, women at 50, unless someone has a bad family history or an abnormal profile, then we'll look at them sooner. Now, here's something interesting if you've got parents listening.
Yep.
Okay.
We've been looking at teenagers in our office. I don't charge them. I'm just kind of doing it randomly to collect data. But on obese, really overweight adolescents, teenagers, the average 16 to 18-year-old has the plaque of an average 40-year-old adult.
Wow.
And that's new. That's new because of diet and lifestyle.
That's diet and lifestyle. This isn't a drug deficiency.
Right.
This is our youth today are killing themselves with the lifestyle they're living. But that shocked me. I read this study that said all these obese adolescents had plaque of an average 45-year-old. And so I thought, well, that can't be. But everyone I've measured in my office, that was the case.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, let's jump into the foods. Since you kind of brought one up, fiber. You've got 5 new categories of foods that will prevent heart disease. So let's talk about those, because I think people, especially our fans, they really we're food first people, and so our fans are always looking for things they can do right away at home with the food that they're eating now. So,
well, fiber is like miraculous. You know that. You're experts in this. You know, It lowers blood sugar. It improves your cholesterol profile. It has hundreds of anti-aging nutrients in it. Makes you feel full and satisfied, so it helps you lose weight. It's just miraculous.
Okay.
Number 2, we looked at more lean and clean protein.
Great.
How many people eat bad sources of protein? You know, commercial, hormone, and pesticide-enriched protein.
Right.
Right.
And that's where all the fat, if there is any fat on that animal, that's where all the toxins are. And where all the fat things are hiding.
So seafood should be wild. You know, if it's poultry, it should be free-range organic. If it's beef, it should be organic grass-fed. I mean, just kind of to me, no-brainer. But that's less than probably 5% of protein eaten. I love protein powders, like a shake in the morning. Mm-hmm. You know, have a protein shake and put some berries in it. Yeah,
we're actually having a new protein that we're going to be coming out with one soon. That's a non-GMO verified.
Excellent.
So we're so food, quality issues. Obviously, with rich food, poor food, we totally believe in that.
Yeah, I was looking through your book. I mean, I'm reading through the book, and on page 109, you do go over talking about the free-range, grass-fed, organic protein. And of course, everybody watching now, from Rich Food, Poor Food that we could take you through every aisle in the grocery store and show you how to find these foods. But what's important, a lot of times we don't hear it from the professionals, like Dr. Masley, about why it's so important to get these things. It's not just food quality in general, but also they're going to be so much more packed with vital micronutrients. Isn't that true?
It's just nutrients, let alone that they don't have hormones, pesticides, and dioxins. They're toxins. So yeah, it's a huge difference. And then number 3 is healthy fat. I'm not looking at low fat. I want people to add healthy fat sources like seafood, virgin olive oil, more nuts, avocados. And I actually like cooking with nut oil and avocado oil as well if it's higher heat and I don't use olive oil. So more fat's okay as long as it's from a rich source.
And coconut oil then being, what's your stance on the coconut oil?
Well, coconut's really interesting. It's got some bad rap in the media because it's a saturated fat, but it certainly is not in the same, totally different than something like butter fat or fatty meat fat. But I think it has immune benefit. I think it's good for the brain. It's a great fuel for like athletes who are, those medium chain triglycerides are a great fuel for sports.
Yep.
I have one great caveat with it. If you eat quite a bit of saturated of coconut oil, your cholesterol is going to go up about 30, 40, 50 points. So what if your doctor has you on a cholesterol lowering med?
Right.
You want it? They may actually have to raise the dose because of that. So in that, and that's hopefully if you're healthy, you wouldn't even need that medication.
Right.
But for those people who are having their cholesterol treated by their doctor, those with known heart disease, in that situation, I would encourage them to use almond oil, walnut oil, avocado oil, virgin olive oil instead. But for everybody else, I think, stay in good health and enjoy some coconut.
That's great.
We love coconut oil. We've got the tribes all over, Papua New Guinea, every place using coconuts for every single part of it. Now, what is your take on the omega-6 then in some of the nut oils?
Well, for years I was really worried about the omega-6s because they'd be pro-inflammatory, right?
Right.
But every study we do for the heart and we look at nuts has shown a benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
More nuts you eat, in the last Mediterranean heart study, they came out once again. Now they're doing, 2 to 3 to 4 handfuls of these nuts a day that have omega. So in a nut form, I'm not a big fan of corn oil.
Yeah.
But if it's coming from a nut, there's so many benefits in the nut. The evidence is just overwhelming. I'm not concerned with it.
Right. And I think the big takeaway here for people is that fat isn't the enemy. So many times we think of fat and we think of heart disease and we think one kind of causes the other, but it really isn't like that. And there's some fats that we should be watching out for more than others. What about like trans fats?
Well, you've looked at that. I call that embalming fluid.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not that all fat is good. No, that is not. The trans fats, they hardly exist in nature. They're just a toxin.
Yeah.
And actually they have a lot in common with plastic.
Yeah.
When you think about how do we make trans fat and how do we make plastic, you take an oil and you add in these noxious chemicals like nickel and cadmium, and you heat it and you pump in hydrogen gas, and I mean the food industry loves it because your food lasts forever, right?
Right.
Yeah. We're actually always talking about, one of the things we talk about is if you're looking for trans fats on the label, first of all, make sure you know that mono and diglycerides is just another term that they use on labels for trans fats.
Yes.
And also, they can still have trans fats and say no trans fats on the label because it is less than like 5 per serving or something.
Yeah, less than 1 gram.
Yes.
Yeah, less than 1 gram.
It says no trans fat, and you read the label, and the ingredients say partially hydrogenated fat. Just put it right back.
Put it right
Absolutely.
back. Now, we should mention for those people who are really into fats that CLA, or conjugated linoleic acid, is a naturally occurring trans fat that is not bad for you, so don't worry about that.
It's actually good for you.
It's actually good for you. But that is really, that's nature's version.
That's kind of an exception, though.
Something totally different. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're not going to see CLA in a packet. It's not going to be in your processed foods.
No.
Yeah.
So another thing, so you said that this is, so if you're telling them, what are some of the other things? I think we went through 3 of the foods. There's still a couple left.
So beneficial beverages. People don't take what they drink seriously enough. You know, and certainly I don't want sugar in what we drink. So please, no sugar. But that's pure water. I'm okay with 1 or 2 cups of coffee a day, but green tea is really better for you.
Right.
I'd love to start the day with a protein smoothie, as I mentioned. Personally, I use, put in my protein. I add a cup of frozen berries. I put in my 30-calorie almond milk, and I'm good. I'm happy.
Great. Yep. Yeah, we're big fans of that.
A glass of red wine with dinner, I think, is awesome. The big challenge is, can you limit it to 1 glass?
Yeah.
That's the benefit. And then, if you don't drink, you don't have to start. Not asking, But they do have to add those pigments in.
But
So if you don't have your glass of wine, you don't have that glass of wine, it's really important to make sure you get like a smoothie with blueberries or raspberries or organic strawberries or something in it.
Right.
Right.
And then cocoa. I really like cocoa for a beverage.
Mm-hmm.
It's when people have a cup of cocoa each day, it lowers their blood pressure, it decreases their plaque formation, it's great for their brain, it's rich in magnesium. It's awesome.
Now, cocoa, you're not telling them to go and buy Swiss Miss with the little marshmallows and the sugar.
No, here's what's interesting. When you add, thank you for pointing that out, when you add sugar to the cocoa, you didn't get any blood-lowering benefit.
Okay.
That's very interesting.
Very interesting.
So you do like a dark cocoa powder?
A dark cocoa, from a cooking perspective, I care if it's Swiss processed or not, or alkaline, but for just drinking, no. It's unsweetened. I usually put it like in something like almond milk, and I just stir it up.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys feel about, sweeteners like stevia, but if someone had to have a sweetener, I might let them use a tiny bit. I usually don't use any. I prefer to skip it.
Yeah, we're stevia people. That's our sweetener of choice when we need it.
That's the one I recommend if someone wants just a touch in their cocoa. Yeah,
in our product nutrients, we use some with stevia and some without, just depending on how somebody does with it. And one interesting thing about stevia is we found that people who have a ragweed allergy are actually allergic to stevia because it's from the same similar plants.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
I think,
random fact.
I do think it's interesting to point out and just really hit this home. I think what we're saying is that chocolate and cocoa is good minus the sugar, and I think this is so important because people go out there and say, "Oh, I can have this bar and it's got organic sugar in it." Well, listen, sugar is one of those micronutrient depleters that we talk about. It competes with calcium and magnesium, which is, you mentioned that chocolate's so high in magnesium. Probably some of those, almost all the benefit of that magnesium is being blocked when you add sugar to that chocolate. So don't do that. And then
the 5th category is fabulous flavors.
Fabulous.
I'm a trained chef. We've got to make our food taste great, or people aren't going to enjoy it. I think people overeat because their food doesn't taste good.
Absolutely, and so spices, and I mean we love organic spices. We use them in everything. I'm sort of addicted to the Indian spices myself.
But they're so anti-inflammatory. They slow aging. So more Italian spices, more curry spices, more chili spices, and then in that category, if I put, you have to have dark chocolate every day.
Great.
It's got to be
spice
I don't count it. We're not talking milk chocolate. That's just candy.
That's right. That's right. I noticed in the book on page 116 you talk about garlic, and this is one thing I wanted to talk to you about because I think this is a point that people don't think about, exactly these herbs and spices. And we talk a lot about garlic. Garlic's got a lot of fantastic health benefits. And you gave a little tip here that you don't want to put the garlic in until you're almost done cooking. I think that's important for people to know because garlic's, some of their health properties are damaged by the heat. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, it actually ruins the flavor too. It's really interesting. If you cook your garlic with your onions in a dish in the beginning on high heat, it'll turn bitter and it ruins the dish.
Right.
And you lose almost all the beneficial nutrients when you do that, cooking it at high heat.
Okay, so just as an aside here, you're having a dinner party. What is your favorite thing to cook for people where they just hem and yummy noises through the entire meal? What do you make that you'd recommend? Maybe a recipe from your book or just something that is always your.
I'd probably look at Ciappino and Italian stew. The thing I get the most oohs and ahs over.
But we live not so far.
There's a Ciappino Italian seafood stew in there. It's just so fragrant. They walk in the house and they start salivating when they get in your home. You have them at Drool.
Okay, so that's now on my to-do list.
Yeah, and just for people looking for it, when you grab the book and want to find this stew, it's on page 315.
And I'm going to make it, and we'll report back on how it turned out.
Okay. The stock is really important.
Okay.
And then it does have a little red wine in it when it simmers. I use a nice,
I don't have to count that as my. I don't have to count that as my glass, though, right?
No, it all disappears in the evaporation. There's no alcohol left when you go to eat it.
That's great. Now we've talked about the food. We've gone over kind of your top 5 categories of food. Let's talk a little bit about. Now you say that we're going to see is enhanced sexual function for both men and women. Let's talk a little bit about that. Our people always like to hear about how we can enhance our sexual function.
Well, here's the really good news that people might enjoy hearing. Sex is great for your heart.
Great.
It is. Hugs are good. So a long hug, cuddling, caress, a massage, all of that, as you know, raises oxytocin. Oxytocin is that relaxation and bonding hormone. It brings us together. So, but when you have sex, you get a big spike in oxytocin. So it lowers your blood pressure, lowers cortisol. It's really good for us. And this program is incredible for sex life because for men and women, I'll keep it PG, but for both, you need to increase circulation.
Right.
For a man, if there's no circulation, there's really not much function.
That's true.
Nothing happening then.
And for a woman, if there's not any circulation, there's almost no arousal, no moisture, it's just almost unpleasant. So both men and women need excellent circulation.
So is that part of the program?
Is awesome for it.
So is there a mandatory part of the program where that's included, or is that just a benefit you might find?
Well, I'll say highly encouraged.
Okay.
This program is getting better by the moment here. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the top nutrients that you find that are critical.
Okay. So we've been doing, as I said, research, and I'm publishing in March at the American Heart Association, looking at what nutrients are associated with whether you have plaque in your arteries or not. Are your arteries thickening? Are they staying wide open and functional?
Right.
Number 1 was fiber. How nice. 2 was fish oil was really important.
Yeah.
But we should take a moment on fish oil because there's been so much misinformation in the media recently.
That's why we're going to be doing those treadmill talks because that's one of those things we get emails about all the time. So what's your stance on the fish oil?
Yeah.
Well, they recently the news said fish oil causes prostate cancer. I know you guys saw that.
Yeah.
Well,
really,
that was
brilliant reporting.
They didn't even study that. That wasn't even the study. This was a selenium study. Selenium is a mineral we get from food like Brazil nuts. And they were looking at if you give selenium to men, does it or not in a placebo trial, yes or no, did it impact prostate cancer? And they happened to check their blood levels in the study, and they saw if they had high EPA and DHA, they had an increased prostate cancer risk. But it was like 1 in 1,000 that actually where we were seeing this.
Right.
So somehow the media said this causes it. But, you know, they didn't discern, did it come from a supplement? Did it come from eating fried fish and chips?
Right.
What was the source of those levels? And there's 3 studies published in 2 years. The only one that looked at food and looked at supplement showed if you had a good quality European grade fish oil, it lowered your prostate cancer risk, lowered cancer risk. If they were eating fried fish, it went up.
Yeah. Right. Well, because
fried fish is probably like trans fat fried fish.
Right, absolutely. So a lot of studies do that.
They're totally wrong.
Yeah. So now when you're saying the good grade, what do you recommend?
It makes me concerned, though, but if I still believe that people, you would never promote this, but if many people just go there, buy the cheapest fish oil they can find.
Right.
And I think if it's rancid, if it doesn't taste fresh, I am concerned cheap, bad quality fish oil can cause cancer.
Yeah.
Same way cheap food does, same way cheap everything does. It's
it's got to be good quality. It's not, especially, I would say, of all the supplements, maybe fish oil, because it's so delicate. Those long chain omega-3s are so, you know, fragile. That's the most important thing we should not be skimping on.
Yeah, and one way we teach people how to find a good fish oil is we recommend not taking it in pill and capsule if you can help it, but actually getting the oil itself. And of course, when you're taking the oil itself, it's much easier to know whether or not that oil is rancid.
That's great advice. I recommend if you do, because some people, I do the same thing. It's actually less expensive to get it in a glass bottle instead of capsules.
Yeah.
But if they do, some people just aren't going to do that. If they do use a bottle, I do recommend they take a needle and they stick it in the capsule and they taste a few drops of that pill for each time they use the new bottle. Not every pill, but the first pill in a bottle.
No, that's actually a great tip.
Yeah.
Because it could have been damaged in shipping too. So if they follow your advice and they're doing it by the teaspoon, they're going to know if that was bad. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
They're not going to take it.
Yeah.
You know, it could have sat in a truck in the heat.
Right. We talk about that all the time.
Yep.
So fish oil, it's great for your heart. Number 3 was vitamin D. Turned out to be really important. What a surprise! It reflects on our genes, and over hundreds of reactions in our gene receptor sites are involved.
Yeah.
Magnesium. We mentioned magnesium. That turned out to be super important.
Yeah.
Right.
But before we move on to magnesium, vitamin D, what level do you recommend people supplement?
I like people having a blood level of around 40 to 50, not more than 70.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so
now, if someone has multiple sclerosis or something like that, I might change that. For average preventative health, that's the level I'm looking at. And we've done a study here in Florida on our patients. We found that the average person needed to get about 1,500 to 2,000 to get to that level. Some people need 3,000. If they need 5,000, most of them probably have a gluten issue and they're not absorbing well.
Right.
Good. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, and with more and more people finding out that they're gluten sensitive and gluten intolerant and have celiacs and to every extent, that's another reason a lot of these conditions are coming up, because people aren't absorbing their micronutrients anymore.
Yeah. I think if I see someone's on 5,000 a day of vitamin D and they swear to me they're taking it and their vitamin D is still low,
right.
It's like, okay, you have a gluten intolerance until proven otherwise.
Right.
Yeah.
It's amazing how often that comes out true.
Yes.
Yeah, we're seeing that with leaky gut a lot now too. A lot of people are getting leaky gut from the GMOs and from all the other toxins in the environment.
Yes.
You're seeing a lot of poor absorption and malabsorption issues.
Yeah. Okay, so
magnesium.
The vitamin D, then the magnesium. So magnesium,
70% of Americans are not getting their magnesium. It's really pretty sad.
And that affects everyone. I mean, people who call us with migraines, people who aren't sleeping, there's so many issues associated.
Yeah, insomnia, migraines, constipation, muscle cramps, palpitations.
Yeah.
A lot of people have palpitations, turn out to be now, and here's something serious. If you're having palpitations and you're magnesium deficient, you can have what we call sudden death. Big deal.
Yeah. That's a big deal.
Sounds like it.
So, do not now. And here's the biggest problem, I think. Taking a calcium supplement is really popular, and for your bones it can be important. I don't want people calcium deficient, but if you take calcium with no magnesium, you block magnesium absorption. You know this, and you just make it worse. So people need to take calcium and magnesium together in a 2-to-1, 3-to-1 calcium-magnesium ratio if they're going to take calcium. It's so important.
Now, it's important to talk about in the book because you talk about it here, and actually you're one of the only books that I've ever seen talk about the competition between calcium and magnesium. And I can't find the page here.
We actually formulated our entire product on these competitions because the fact that when I had advanced osteoporosis and we were trying to cure my, advanced osteoporosis, we were looking at all these things, and calcium and magnesium were two of the ones that they kept telling me I had to take.
Right.
So it's great that we actually see you talking about them in the book.
And what ratio do you guys use?
Well, the way that we work it is because calcium absorption is enhanced from magnesium, but calcium blocks the absorption of magnesium. We have a patent where we separate the two. So we give you your calcium with your vitamin D for absorption, and then we give you magnesium at a separate time so that calcium can't. But we use 400 milligrams of magnesium because we only really believe in the giving people the RDI. And then we'll provide that calcium at a different time for them. But during the day,
600 because that's all.
Makes good sense.
Yep. So that's. But I was so happy.
And what kind of magnesium are you using?
We use a magnesium citrate. Through a conversion.
Nice and clean.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same thing for calcium.
Yeah. But I think one thing I should mention is the most common magnesium sold out there is magnesium oxide.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an intestinal irritant. So people need to go look and make sure if they're again, of other places not to skimp on your supplement. Fish oil is #1, magnesium's #2. Watch out.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're saying this. And of course, people who know us know that this is right up our alley. We've got beneficial forms and quantities as part of the B and the ABCs of optimal supplementation guidelines. So what Dr. Masley is saying is so true. You want to look at the ingredient list of your multivitamins, and you want to make sure you're getting what you need to be taking, and make sure it does not say magnesium oxide.
And I'm going to guess on the last one because talking about calcium and our classification, I'm going to guess that one of them has to be K.
Yeah, vitamin K is next.
I love vitamin K.
Superstar vitamin.
When we looked at can you shrink arterial plaque, vitamin K turned out to be really important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they found
if you're not getting your K, you know this, you shift the calcium from your bones to your arteries, and that's a bad plan.
Yeah, we always describe K as like the director who's basically getting, okay, over there, guys, get out of the arteries, get into the bone. We always try to explain it to people like that's his job.
Yeah.
So you really need it in a formula.
The irony is you can get K from food so easily. Cooked green leafies.
Well, K1, but what about K2? K2 is a little bit more difficult to get.
It is. Unless you eat natto, and very few people are going to eat natto. So we do convert some of it. If you have a cup of cooked greens a day, we'll convert quite a bit of that. But again, most people, more than half of people, aren't getting even the minimum of K. They're not making any K2. So I think at 1,000 a day, we're actually pretty good. If people ate a cup of cooked greens every day. But now we're talking like, 3 to 5% of people at best.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, not very many people. And if people are looking for a vitamin K2 source from food, and you do eat dairy, Gouda cheese, just so everybody knows, 3 ounces of Gouda cheese provides 80 micrograms of vitamin K2. So it's really the only source available to us here in the U.S.
And I usually don't recommend people eat 3 ounces of cheese a day either.
Right, which is why we put it in the supplement, because that's a lot of cheese for the average person.
Much better to get it in the supplement.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we have K2, and we believe is just as important.
Oh, yeah, also probably important to mention for people because of vitamin K, to mention the 2 forms. So there's 2 forms of vitamin K, vitamin K1 and vitamin K2, and then, of course, vitamin K2, 2 forms of that, MK4 and MK7. Good idea to get both of those if you can, do you think?
I think so. They have different mechanism of function.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, so the top 5 are the fiber, the vitamin D, which you recommend about 1,500 to 2,000 IU a day of.
Well, I recommend you have to get a good level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's just my starting point.
Okay.
We're looking at 1,500 to 2,000 a day, and after you've been on it at least 3 months, see what your level is. You might need 3,000.
Right.
Everybody needs at least that much. Some people need more.
Now, a lot of people can get that from the sun, and we're lucky because we all live in Florida, so we can get it from the sun at least during the spring and the summertime.
Right.
But
but you know what's interesting? I have Florida patients, right, and 80 to 90% of them are grossly vitamin D deficient if they don't take a supplement.
Yeah. They're all walking around with sunblock on, big hats, and they're covered. So yeah, it's so unfortunate we're not getting our vitamin D anymore.
You need about an hour a day.
Yep.
In skimpy attire.
Right. And between the hours of 11 and 1. So
I just 11 and 1, 10 to 2, somewhere in there. An hour a day, skimpy attire, no sunscreen.
Yeah, right.
Not many people doing that these days.
Many,
and if you live north of Atlanta, I'm sorry, but you don't make it 6 months of the year.
That's right.
You're just out of luck there.
Very important. Yep.
So you've made this like your entire mission to go out there and to help people to cure their hearts. And so what is it that you're trying to achieve, and how are you going about this?
Well, I want to help 1 million people prevent and reverse heart disease in this next year.
Right.
That's my mission. You know, I think it's awful the way healthcare is treating people today for cardiovascular disease. When we can prevent 90% of it, that's what we need to be doing. So I'm just trying to get the word out. How do we make a difference? But here's the benefit. When you do this, truly, you're not just helping your heart and your arteries. You really are tuning up your energy, your waistline, your brain function, and your sex life all at the same time.
Right.
And the program's really, really easy. We looked through it, and it's not making huge changes. I mean, you're just it's things that are healthy for you. It's
not same things you recommend. Add healthy food, meet key nutrient needs, and then go get fit and be active. Have some fun. Those are really the keys.
What do you recommend for exercise getting fit?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Well, here's the thing. It's in our research, we looked at many things. If you did strength training, how many minutes you worked out per week. What really mattered the most is just something simple. How fit are you?
Okay.
So what we would love to do is have people do a fitness test. They can do a 3-minute step test where they get up on a step. They could do it on a treadmill. They can do an elliptical machine. They could do it with their trainer.
Okay.
We have them do a one-time test, and it gives them a fitness score. How much energy can they burn? It tells you how old you are. What's your energy burning capacity? And we have tables for that in 30-day heart tune-up. That's your best measure of physiologic aging.
Ooh, I want to go do that.
That's great. We'll definitely do that, and we'll let everybody know where we fall on that scale. But maybe.
No.
And so definitely go out there and do that if you're watching.
And then the second thing you get from it is your maximum heart rate.
Okay.
Say you're running on the treadmill or you're cranking on the bike. When you get to the point you're huffing and puffing and you can't talk in 2 sentences, that's your maximum heart rate. It's so valuable to know this because when you're active, you would like to be at 70 to 85% of that to be revved up.
Right.
Okay.
So if you want to rev up, if you want to improve brain speed, burn fat, rev your metabolism so you burn more calories, really optimize the function of your arteries. Most of that occurs when we're in this sweet spot zone at 70, 80, 70 to 85%. So, and you don't have to go to the gym is the good news. Yeah. People can, put on a heart rate monitor, with a little, watch for that. And you could dance. I mean, someone's doing housework. I say, well, put on some music and dance while you do it.
Great advice.
Absolutely.
Go walk the dog. Go garden. Put on your, get some music on. Go, get your heart rate up in that sweet zone. You get so much. The increased benefit is incredible.
Yeah, we always say when we were visiting tribes around the world, we didn't see a gym anywhere. There was never a treadmill, a stair machine, but every single tribe danced. Every single tribe had a dance or something that they would do. It's healthy.
But they get their heart rate up, and you get it into this nice natural, and you don't feel beaten up. You feel revved and rejuvenated, and it improves brain speed. I have an article this month in the Journal of American College of Nutrition looking at what predicts brain speed. And there were 3 huge factors that relate to that. One was fitness. 2 was if you're growing plaque in your artery, you lose brain speed quickly. And 3 was some of the B vitamins like folate and B12. That's an article coming out I have in February, Journal American College of Nutrition. But my point is, it's not just good for your heart or your waistline, it's great for your brain too.
Yeah. Well, what I love about this book, and I love about your message in general, is that, you know, you're a medical professional and you're telling people that by looking at their diet, by looking at their exercise and their lifestyle habits, and by supplementing smart, they really can control and prevent heart disease. And this is not a message we often hear from the medical world. Yeah.
It's about time, isn't it?
It is.
We tell people all the time, you know, don't wait. Just like I didn't know I was sick until I got advanced osteoporosis. Do something now. Be preventative, and you really can change. You don't have to suffer for all that time. You can actually fix it before it's even a problem for you.
You feel so much better when you're following a program that matches your genetic makeup. You know, the biggest thanks I get from my patients when they've done this for 30 days, when they've tried this 30-day heart program, the greatest thanks I get, they'll say, wow, I forgot how great I could feel. Yeah. I feel terrific.
Yeah.
Now you have so many people, they just feel awful and they've forgotten, they don't know it anymore.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna give everyone after this interview some links down below so they can come over to your website and learn more about you. And I think you've got some really cool gifts that you mentioned that you are going to offer them.
Yeah, so what we talked about part of the doctor bit and what tests should you have? What tests should you have to assess yourself? And your doctor may not be ordering them. It's not because they don't care. It's just there's not enough time in a typical visit. So I have a quiz for a person to take, share the results with their doctor, and it includes all the lifestyle factors we just talked about.
Okay.
Are you getting your fiber? Do you get your magnesium? And then along with that, and then the labs that I want your doctor to order and go over with you.
Oh, that's fantastic. So it's like having you as their personal, you know, doctor in their pocket to bring out right when they go see their real doctor.
So I think that's a very, very important tip for people to have to get an ISS. How am I doing? You know, a nice quiz and a guide and a partnership to get a better relationship with your doctor. 2 is I put in those the 6 key nutrients for your heart with, you know, where can you get them from? I'm sure you guys teach this every day, but, you know, just where can you get them from food? Here's this, you know, nutrient list, what's your good sources? And 3, I love to cook. I love healthy food. So I'm offering a video to come in my kitchen and make one of my favorite dishes with me.
Oh.
Join me, and I'll bring you in my kitchen. That's where we are right now. We're in my kitchen.
I know.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think I'm in
So join me in my kitchen, and I'm going to show you, it's not just how do you make it taste delicious. It's how to use oils and herbs together so they enhance the flavor and optimize your nutritional state.
That's fantastic.
And because you're so close, we're going to come and haunt your kitchen sometime, I hope.
I hope so. We'll get you over for dinner.
Sounds so cool.
We would love that. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being on the show. Remember, everybody, this is the book. This is the book to get. This is going to be lighting up the media coming up. Don't forget, February is Heart Healthy Month. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's Heart Month, February. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. Everybody go grab your copy of 30-Day Heart Tune-Up. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. See you soon.
Thank you.